if as a searcher you have more cash saved in your personal accounts, right? Like I recommend to those searchers, like don't put all that cash into your deal, like take the leverage, because that cash is a much more practically used as a debt payment, right? As opposed to equity upfront. So like in simple terms, right? If you take, I don't know, like 3 million of SBA debt and you've got another 200K saved in the bank such that you could have put it in as equity and just done 2.8 million of SBA debt, like that's actually riskier, taking 2.8 million and having nothing in the bank. It is less risky to take 3 million of SBA debt and have 200K in the bank, because your payment on the 3 million is going to be something like 500-600K. So that 200K in the bank is going to be like several months of debt payments, right? Whereas reducing your debt payment, your total balance by 200K up front, like that's going to change your payment by like
$1,000,
10 grand, maybe a year.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's just not going to move the needle very much. Welcome to The Intentional Owner. How's it going, Sam?
It's going great. Today is a little different. We are not recording this on our usual day of the week. We had to flex, which seems par for the course for the life of a small business owner.
Well, we had to flex because of an industry conference. We'll come back to that. But I do want to note that today is game 5 of the ALDS, and I'm going to the game tonight, Mariners versus Tigers. So I have tickets. I'm going. Me and Anna are going. But by the time this episode comes out, we will know if the Mariners, obviously, if they've gotten into the ALCS. But I think by the time this episode comes out, we'll also know if they won the ALCS or not, which I have tickets to game 2 of the ALCS. Or not game 2, but their second home game.
Really? That's presumptuous.
Listen. Hey, look, I bought tickets to game 5 just in case also before the series began. And so now we're going.
Yeah, well, being optimistic and being crazy are very close to one another on the spectrum. And so,
listen,
we'll see.
The Mariners hadn't won a home playoff game in 24 years. So that's just sort of the deal, right?
Wow. Since Ken Griffey Jr. was running center field for the Mariners?
Correct.
On the AstroTurf using those really cool.
Well, it was 2000. I think the last time we won the AL West was 2001, which was Ken Griffey, or was he still? Yeah. It was, I mean, I think of 2001 team as Ichiro's team, even though the other guys were there, but that was Ichiro's rookie year. Wow. So he won AL Rookie of the Year that year. But 95 is the last time they won the ALDS against the Yankees to go into the ALCS, but the Mariners have never actually gone to the World Series.
Wow. And to be clear, the ALCS is a best of 5. So tonight is it.
No, ALDS. Yeah, ALDS. Sorry, ALDS, right now is best of 5. Yeah, so this is the final game of the series.
Cool. That's super exciting. They were in town. The Mariners were in town about a month ago in Tampa. And I went to the Rays Mariners game at the Yankees spring training facility where the Rays played their entire season this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just because they've just admitted they're a small market team?
Wow. Look at this. Jeez. For those of you who weren't on the pre-recording of this podcast, I might have thrown a punch or two about ages. And so now I'm getting one back.
Listen.
So
it's kind of like the A's are playing in Sacramento now. Same idea.
So it's actually because one of the hurricanes that came through Tampa last year ripped the ceiling off of the
Tropicana, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, that's less funny.
Well, some of us think it was a good thing because they moved the team closer to call it Tampa. It used to be very much in the outskirts where generally nobody went.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So I'm pumped. That's the game tonight. But anyways, to your original question, we moved this recording because I think I had the primary conflict, which was I was at an Arborist conference all week, which was actually a lot of fun. I'm happy to tell you about it.
Got it. And an arborist like a barber, or like what does this all mean?
Well, wouldn't you know? I'm an ISA certified arborist these days.
I'm messing with you. That's the other thing we joke about is our hairlines. And
this is true.
We'll avoid that today.
One of the guys on my team, I wasn't wearing a hat this morning at dispatch. And one of the guys on my team came up and was like, "Hey, boss, I got to say, you need a haircut."
Oh boy.
Yeah.
There's not many good responses to that.
No, and I was like, you're right. This upcoming weekend is kind of like a life maintenance weekend for me.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay. So an arborist conference. Tell us about that. Enough where like you set the stage for what I'm going to ask you about.
Yeah, so basically, I was there Saturday through Wednesday, so a long time. But basically, the trade organization for arborists is called ISA, which is the International Society of Arboriculture, but it's broken up into regional chapters. So I'm on the board of or I was until Tuesday actually, but I was on the board of the Pacific Northwest chapter of ISA. And so every year we have a big annual training conference that rotates around the region. So that was what was this weekend in Portland.
So a couple things. One is, I mean, I think everybody who comes into ETA knows that there are industry conferences because of where people came from. There's conferences for everything. There's conferences for ETA. There's conferences for every industry under the sun, probably multiple. So I am a big believer in conferences for the sake of getting away from your daily routine and, you know, having some fun are nice, but you need to be intentional.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you burn a lot of time and a lot of money and you come home tired and overwhelmed and you ask yourself, what did you get from it? So,
Totally.
like, step back. What is this organization about and why do you care?
Yeah, I think so. The tree industry historically has had a reputation of its like cowboys, that are just like cutting trees left and right and just sort of sending it. And to be clear, it's a lot of adrenaline junkies, right? We have a lot of that in the industry, but there is a growing and growing faction of folks that really treat it as a profession, as a trade. It is a skilled trade and you can do it well. And so I think ISA in particular, it's sort of the education organization. There's another industry group that is a little bit more on the commercial side of the industry, kind of like how do you run a good tree business, so to speak. But ISA conferences are really like, how do you be a good arborist, right? And for me, one, I like our company exists on that side of the tree care spectrum. Like we're on the professional end of the spectrum, but also like I think it's valuable or values aligned for us to be at these conferences to say, hey, like it tells other arborists, like, hey, our company cares about this, right? Like it's a little bit of a like you need to build a brand within your industry, right? To your competitors who are friendly or otherwise, right? To like potential hires, to potential acquisition targets, to potential buyers, who knows, right? Like choosing to be at the conference, we brought four of our sales arborists down. So bringing our sales arborists there, like, which is a real time commitment and cost, like that signals to other folks in the industry, like, hey, like Bluma Tree is trying to do it in the professional way.
Got it. So a little bit of actual education for your team so they can have a differentiated skill set, a differentiated offering when they go home. 100%
Totally.
agree with that. Most conferences will have the education piece be like the day or the two before the main hall opens up. This is
Right.
standard practice. Little tricks of the trade too is a lot of times the sponsors of the conference, the big vendors in the community will have like passes where you can send some of your team and not have to come out of pocket for it. So I've
Yep.
seen that trick get played before.
Yeah.
And
And
then
what I
this
love about this conference is it has the vendors, obviously, but that's actually a very small piece of it. Like by far, like the vast majority of this is the education events, which is cool.
got it. So then the second part is the messaging. Like you're saying that you're going to align Bluma with the certifications, the ethos of a more sophisticated tree care sub part of the industry in order to differentiate yourself for all of the stakeholders around
Hmm.
quality.
And also for your team, right? Like one of the certified arborists on our team, he'd been certified for years before he joined us. And, he'd been in the industry for 10 years, but he had never been to this conference that happens every year, right? Because
Really?
like his former companies just never sent him.
Did he give you feedback after going?
Yeah, so I mean, he went for the first time 2 years ago with us, and that was one of his feedback was like, it's just cool to get to go be a part of it, right? Like he gets to see the industry as a whole, like connect with other, strong professionals. where otherwise you just sort of on your own island, right? All day, just doing your job.
Yeah. And to that point, another big pro of conferences, I think everybody knows this, is they can be fun. But when you're running a small business, you work in a small business, it was harder than I thought to step back and get to know your teammates outside of work, just,
Totally.
and I think there's a ton of value to, whether it's getting a beer with your teammates, at 9 o'clock one night or at the lobby bar or whatever it is. There's just a lot of benefit. Jumping on a plane together. I mean, how often do you guys fly away from your office?
Never. Yeah,
Never.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. It's funny you say that because so two of the guys who stayed, we went out that Tuesday night, went to like a karaoke bar with a bunch of the arborists. The nice thing with arborists is they're a pretty good time as a group. Like they're a good hang. And so everyone like between ages like 28 and 40 who are at this conference all went to this karaoke bar on Tuesday. Um, and so I was hanging out with a couple of my guys and we were just chatting over beers. And so these guys, they're like 36, 37, 38, 39, roughly in that ballpark. And I'm, 31. And what we've realized is the difference in that age gap is we nailed it finally. I didn't know that Gwen Stefani was in a band called No Doubt. I had never heard of that, but I had heard of Gwen Stefani, obviously. Whereas for them, they were like, oh, she was like our childhood crush. Like, and No Doubt was like, that was like one of the first albums they'd ever bought, like whatever No Doubt's album was.
Yeah, this was the Gwen Stefani V1 before she went on that show on TV that you probably know of. What's it called? The Voice.
Exactly. The Voice, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So but anyways, not that matters, but it's sort of like, okay, that's the difference in like 5 years.
Okay, now
It's the
I have
Gwen
another
Stefani
question for you.
line.
In your industry, your age, you just said 31.
Mm-hmm.
Are you older or younger among owners and among, just call it, general age of team members?
I am older than the average team member, definitely younger than the average owner.
Got it. Same here. I think in every blue collar service business that I've owned and gone to conferences, that has been the case.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
very interesting.
So I actually spoke at the conference this year also. Which
You were
was
the
cool. It was the
treasurer,
first
right?
time. I was the treasurer. So I've spoken each year at the like meeting, just giving the financial report. That I've done that, and I did that again this year. But this is the first time I did an actual seminar. Like I led a real session about the title of it was Building an Enduring Tree Care Business.
Interesting. So then step back. Why did you decide to run for leadership?
So I ran for the board and was elected 3 years ago. So right after I joined the industry, there was some strange stuff going on in the chapter that they had to like elect a whole board that year. And for me, it was like, hey, I'm not a certified arborist. I was the only non-certified arborist on the board, but I do know how to be a treasurer, right?
Yeah.
Like I have finance background. And so there was actually something I could bring to the table. But for me, it was a little bit of like, yeah, the people who choose to be a part of leadership of these entities, like they're the folks who are most engaged in the industry, right? Like they're the people who are passionate about the people, the trade, the kind of the brand of the industry writ large, right? Like they're the folks that you want to get to know and kind of just learn from. And so for me, that was sort of a clear inroad to do that.
Yeah, good point.
And like I like being a part of stuff, so there's a little bit of that, just getting to be a part of it. But like the reality is like I hate conferences like on their like the baseline premise of a conference is not my jam. It's just like constant socializing. It's so much. It's like a lot of small talk. Like how do you really manage that? And so one of the nice things joining the board is like now I actually have a bunch of like people at these events that I know already. I get to reconnect with from all over the region. And I'm a little bit a part of the actual organization of the conference. So I know some of the behind the scenes. If I'm like don't want to be socializing, I can just go like help out with like telling people where to go and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally.
So I don't know. Have you joined any kind of industry groups in that way, like at a leadership level?
I have not at a leadership level. And yeah. I would add a few other things too. So say you're new to an industry and you feel kind of overwhelmed by running your day-to-day operations, that knife fight. I think it is a good way, like go walk the hall or the conference room area and go see, depending on what it is, like the various products. It's a good time to learn because your seller will probably teach you to run your business using the products and services he or she uses. He or
Totally.
she will probably talk bad about the others. They tend to feel strongly about who they use. Going to these conferences, if you can take a day and just walk the floor, like you will find all of the different product providers, different options, different distributors. I'm trying to be generic about this, but another one is like, I didn't realize all sorts of vendors will show up, like lead gen software systems, lead gen third party agencies, you name it. Like every kind of vendor under the sun will be there. And it can really open your mind up to different and new ways, new tools, new
Totally.
everything.
No, I mean the specific example I recall is we do these injection treatments on trees, specifically birch trees, to combat the bronze birch borer, which is like an insect that,
Yeah.
attacks these trees.
Yep.
And the seller of my business had been doing it for years using a specific product. And somebody else on the board was actually like a specialist in this type of like chemistry and pest control. And I kind of like asked her about it, and she walked me through kind of the chemical background and different options. And we switched to a new product based on that and a new application method that is just like the version we were doing was fine, but it needs to be like perfectly applied at the perfect time of year. Otherwise, it's not that effective. We moved to one that is both more effective and easier to use, basically. And so it's like, great. Like
Yeah.
I only learned that because I got to connect with somebody at this conference.
This episode is brought to you by the Kalmar Group, a recruitment firm that specializes in placing leaders in the SMB community. Most small business owners treat hiring like a side project. Post on a job board, text a few friends, and hope for the best. But when it comes to leadership roles, hope isn't a strategy. The truth is, your people are your most valuable asset, and building the right leadership team requires more than luck. It takes a proven process. That's where the Kalmar Group comes in. They help owners like you find exceptional leaders in operations, sales, finance, and marketing, from managers to the C-suite, so you can stop guessing and start growing. Whether you're running a long-standing business or just acquired one through ETA, change is constant. Key people leave, new opportunities arrive, and when they do, the Kalmar Group is there to help you hire with clarity, confidence, and speed. You hire an expert for legal, bookkeeping, taxes, etc. So why are you flying solo on recruiting and hiring? With clients across the country and a track record of results, Kalmar doesn't just fill roles. They raise the bar for how you hire. Led by founder Dylan Scroggins, a 15-year recruiting veteran, the Kalmar Group exists to help business owners stop settling for good enough and start hiring the kind of leaders who truly move the needle. To learn more, visit thekalmargroup.com or connect with Dylan directly. More details are in the show notes. In our industry, there is a product, let's just call it a fence product, made by a manufacturer who is really smart. They get spec'd in by the design, they get spec'd in by the architect, and therefore, when you get the opportunity to bid, a lot of times your customer will expect that product in there. So obviously they're super expensive. And so like going to a conference has helped me see like there are alternative products that are designed to compete with them, and they'll give you the sales pitch on how to go pitch that alternative product that wasn't spec'd in that's a lot cheaper.
Right.
And so just, I don't know, my take is here, it's definitely worth going in your first year or two, even when you're drowning in your day to day. Take a break and go learn. There's just no way to beat that experience. And then I use conferences very differently now in my day job.
Well, how do you use them?
Well, so like we
I guess
were
you're looking for targets, right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
the specific role I play now, or spend a lot of my time in, is acquisitions for our business. So it's funny how now it's evolved. The different fence shows, and this was before I got in, so I'm actually saying this secondhand. Like bankers, investment banker, business broker types never showed up. So what's interesting is now, like they're showing up in huge supply.
Really? Hmm.
Depends on the show, because like I was just at a conference, not for fence, but for let's call it higher security products and services 2 weeks ago, and I was hanging out with a few of the guys on the team before dinner one night, and sitting next to us was this guy eating alone, and I just chit chatted with him, and he was an investment banker at the conference, which I laughed. What's been really funny too is, at least in our industries, I've gotten so many investment bankers say, gosh, like this is an industry we want to get into, but there's no M&A targets available. Like it's hard to break in. It's hard to build the trust of sellers. And I'm sitting here thinking, not for us.
No, that's exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So M&A has really taken over the purpose of conferences. Not taken over, but it's become a big part of it. And another thing I've noticed is in those continuing education segments, usually prior to the conference starting, I'm seeing a lot more of like a financial advisor type, a business broker type. They'll host a how to prep your company for sale session.
Totally.
Which is smart. And so,
I mean, that's sort of like my presentation wasn't exactly that, but in many ways it was like, hey, if you want to build a business that can sell for cash flow multiple as opposed to equipment value, like this is sort of what you have to go through. It was a presentation that, like in theory, a broker could have given for sure.
And did you get any follow-up?
I got a couple.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, so we'll see if those go anywhere, obviously. But I mean, a part of it is also by putting yourself on display like that, it's like a moment to articulate, hey, this is how I'm not like private equity. This is how I'm not like random Joe Schmo. This is like, it's a little bit more of a, because like for me, at least, I'm not running a roll up, right? I'm only going to buy, competitors if they are good cultural fits, if they really make strategic sense for our business. And so like, it almost lets potential sellers like hear me out and come to me if they're like, hey, I think we might actually be a good fit here.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's a really intentional way to use it. And I know it's not, I'm guessing of the 12 people who listen to our podcast, that was a joke, that not
we
everybody.
have more than 12 finally. Yeah.
I heard. It's great news. I think you can actually be intentional about it. And that is like, if you are ready for a second acquisition, it's a really good way to spend some time. And like,
totally.
This is the second conference this year I went to. I will admit, I only walked into the conference hall. I didn't spend any meaningful time there because I had set up meetings with business owners literally to line up both days for both conferences. So it was really awesome. Just a bunch of lobby time, which is great. That was the purpose of it. And then the best part is then we blow off some steam to have dinner with our team. And it's a really good, useful way to spend a couple days.
I mean, look, that's exactly like, you can't let yourself feel guilty about not doing the conference the way, like, in theory, the conference is supposed to be done, right? Like, you have to do it in a way that's actually interesting and useful to you.
Agree.
Like on the main day of the conference, like the day I was speaking as well, I was the second time slot in the morning. So the first time slot, I was just in my hotel, kind of going through my slides and sort of resting. I did my presentation, pretty tired after that, got the lunch, and then I went upstairs and took a nap. And then I rejoined the group for the reception and, the going out for karaoke and all that.
Yeah. I'd also say that just to step back a bit, I get a lot of searchers will ask, like, I'm not an extrovert. Am I going to be okay if my job is to always be on? And what I can say affirmatively is I am a highly functioning introvert. I think you are too.
Totally.
And I think that's a superpower. You just have to manage your energy in every respect.
Absolutely. I mean, so for me, it's basically non-negotiable. I have to book the hotel room that the conference is at because I want to be able to, between sessions, if I need to, go upstairs, spend an hour or two just away from everyone, recharge, and then I can go back into the fray.
I agree. I'm just more of a procrastinator, so I never get to.
Well, I did procrastinate this time, so I didn't get the conference room block, but I paid full freight.
Ooh.
Yeah.
SG&A.
It was unfortunate. Yeah.
Okay, so what if, let's speak a little bit to searchers now. Did you ever go to an industry conference ahead of buying Bluma or ahead of that other business that you almost acquired?
No, I think if I had had a clearer industry thesis, I would have, right? But I was generally looking pretty broadly at the time. What I did do, and I think searchers can totally do, is when they see a business that they're, really working on, maybe they get it under LOI, is to go to the trade organization and really just like devour the website because you will find all kinds of stuff on those websites, like internal studies of their members and like surveys and like stuff like that. Like there's just a surprising number of resources and like become a member, right? But becoming a member of like our chapter, the membership is literally, I think it's like $79 a year. Like,
Wow.
and
Great
that's
deal.
like, yeah, like you could be a student member, is like even cheaper if you're like in an MBA program or something. So it's shockingly cheap. And like all of a sudden you can like access a bunch of material, right? To learn about the industry. And so that to me feels like a no brainer. If you get a tree business under LOI, like join ISA.
Agree. And I think searchers, that's not the first place they go. We're all
No.
just trained to go to Google or ChatGPT. And I
Yeah.
think this is short sighted. Another question I had is, so we always bring our team, different locations, different roles. So I forget who you brought, but what
Mhm.
did they ask you? Hey, what should I do for the next couple days? Like, how can I get the most out of it? And what did you tell them?
Yeah, I don't think I prepped them a lot. I probably could have prepped them more. The way I offered it, so it was in Portland, right, which is about a 3-ish hour drive from Seattle. And so what I offered my sales team in particular, because they're all certified arborists, they're the folks who I think would get the most out of this, is basically I said I would cover $300 in registration fees. I would cover one night of a hotel, and I would give them 1 day paid. And so and all four took me up on that,
Yeah.
which was cool. And it sounds like that's more than like most companies give for this type of thing. And it was really like I like I didn't there's they had no sort of quote. It's not like you go down there and I want you to like have meetings, right? It was really like for them, it was truly education oriented, which is like I want you to show up, like take it seriously. This is like real time and expense for us. But meet people that are interesting, like go learn some stuff. They need CEUs for their certification, so that's part of it. But no, I didn't do a lot of prep for them. Maybe I should have. What do you guys do?
I would say, yeah, I agree. It's not a ton of prep, but there's a little bit of like, hey, we're going to go here. Let's make sure that we're taking advantage of a lot of our, for example, vendor community being there. So, like, if sales estimator folks are going, like, let's go talk to all our current distributors, product material suppliers. Let's go talk to all the ones that we don't buy from and just let's go see if there are new alternative product offerings that we can start
Mhm.
incorporating. Like, let's stay on the front leading edge of our industry so that we're not
Totally.
playing from behind. I'm a big fan of like occasionally you need to, even if you buy from somebody consistently and it's a mutually beneficial relationship, you need to price check. And
Absolutely.
it's just a really good time when a 500 people are all in one place that you can do that in the span of 2 days. So that's
Do
mostly
you
what I encourage.
do you have them like kind of walk the floor to go talk to at the booths, or are you suggesting to them they reach out in advance, set up meetings and stuff like that?
Nope, the former. Although, at least, so I'm speaking to experiences prior to the fence company and the fence company, I guess. So now I would say because we've gotten a little bit bigger, usually we'll get pinged about it. And so vendors will offer to take our team to happy hour, lunch, or dinner, which is great.
Nice.
And I'd say another one is,
That's a cool perk for your team too, right? They get to feel kind of special and just
yeah,
like, yeah, we're working at one of the winners in the industry.
yeah. I would say the one we just came back from in New Orleans, it's a like the industry is not fence, it's high security, which means like crash rated fence or like access control points, like all the products that go on access control points to
Hmm.
big government or commercial facilities. So it's
Hmm.
a little bit of a quasi different industry and we're
Right.
new to it. So it was great. Like I got to go in as a total newbie and try to start getting a handle on like who are the other players because we just acquired in that industry.
Got it.
And so that made a lot of news. So like we spent also some time like answering the questions like, so what are your intentions? What's your strategy here? Or,
Totally.
do you intend to continue to acquire or are you all done? Are you only going to buy on like the civil install integrator part of the supply chain or do you want to buy a manufacturer? And
Right.
so like we tried to share our intentions broadly because I don't know. We take the approach like just be clear about your intentions and then people will be drawn to you.
And people who don't like them will just go a different way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you can sincerely and transparently share what you're trying to do, you attract the people you want. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think before I had bought a business, I had given a lot of thought to like, your business has a brand within the industry, right? To like the rest of the industry.
And it's funny because I'm working on a note to my broader team summarizing it. And the first thing I'm summarizing is not the like the folks we met with and like potential acquisition candidates, which was kind of like the hat I was wearing there. It was, hey, here's how the industry feels right now. It's in the early innings. It's experiencing like a very fast rising tide. And we acquired a fantastic name in the industry. Things we just couldn't know for sure until we got in it.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, Bluma within tree care, within Seattle, like Pacific Northwest or Seattle, tree care industry, it's been around a long time, so a lot of people have heard of it, but it's never had much of a presence, at the industry conferences or in kind of in local type things. Like the former owners, they kind of did their thing, they did a good job, but they didn't really try to go engage the larger community of it, which I've made more of a point to, whether it's like volunteering at tree climbing competitions and things like that. And I feel like there's a perceptible shift in how other companies think about us as like, oh yeah, like Bluma is one of the companies in this area trying to like do it well.
Yeah. And another way to win there is you just never know when somebody's spouse needs to move to greater Seattle. And like
Totally.
just being the reputable name, you don't know how it's going to pay. It will pay off.
Absolutely. I mean, even like we have local competitors, right? Some of the guys who've been around a long time that are kind of they're sort of winding down their businesses. They're not going to really sell their businesses, but they're not doing the hard stuff anymore. They're kind of just like keeping their existing easy clients and repeat stuff. Like I talked to one of them who's been around for 30 plus years and he's like, "Hey, I'm like 20 miles north of you guys. Like when I get the like tall hedges that I don't do anymore, the big removals I don't really want to do anymore, I'm happy to send them your way." I'm like, "Great. Like I appreciate
That's
it."
awesome.
Oh yeah, it's a very interesting industry like that
Also,
because
must be nice to be debt free.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that was so. I was talking to one owner who I'd been trying to chat with him for a while because he owns a couple of cranes, and we don't own cranes, and so we need to work with subcontractors to do crane removals, like remove a tree using a crane. And he's in that same. He's been around long enough that I think he owns them debt free, is my guess. And as a result, like people, when somebody buys a crane, like all they are focused on is how do I get this thing into production because it's the payment on it is huge for him, he's like, yeah, I take it out when I feel like it. I don't subcontract for people I don't like. Like that's his energy, which is like what an amazing position to be in.
Yes. Yes, it
Um,
is. And man, is that tough when you're early on.
totally, right. And so that's where I'm like, oh wow. So like with somebody of his caliber, his opinion of you as a company is like the difference between whether or not you get to access his crane or not.
Yeah, exactly. Super interesting. Anyway, just one of those experiences, right? It's a conference, but I don't think people think about it hard enough.
Totally. I
And
mean, I used to go to conferences in finance, right? But we would go to like an industry conference for an industry we're looking at investing in. But we were such like interlopers there, right? We had no real reason to be there. We kind of walked the floors and chit chatted with people, but we didn't like it. Just why were we there? Kind of energy. Whereas now it's actually quite fun because it's like I have a reason to be there. I'm a part of this. This is my trade now.
yeah, gosh, that's fascinating.
Yeah. And you get to see parts of the industry you kind of don't see in your day to day where these industry conferences they attract a lot of the municipal arborists, right? So like like our permit reviewers at City of Seattle, like they'll be at the conference,
Oh,
right?
wow. I didn't think about
It's
that.
things like totally, it's things like that as well, right? One of the like one of the local suburbs here. We don't quite work in that city, but the city arborist for that city, he's on the board, and he's been like, "Hey, man, like, why are you not expanding your service area to our city?" Right? Because he's struggling to find decent tree providers in his area, right?
Wow.
And so that's like the all of the permit reviewers. They are also arborists. They need CEUs too, right?
Fascinating. Okay. And so to be
So
clear, the city arborists they're not performing work. They're reviewing your permit applications. So
correct.
huge competitive advantage is to have a good reputation and relationship to smooth that.
Absolutely. Like if they see an arborist report with a permit and they're like, "Oh, I've met that arborist. I know they're legit. I know they care." Like that's good, right? Like that
Yeah.
impacts the way they think about your permit approval.
Gosh, that's fascinating.
Yeah. And you can't fake it, right? You can't just be like trying to get FaceTime with the permit. Like they don't really care like that, right?
Yeah,
You're not trying to like butter them up. But if they see you and they're like, "Oh, this person sincerely is trying to do this well," like that's what they care about. That's why they like you have to do it correctly, basically.
exactly. God, that's a huge competitive advantage I never would have thought about.
Hmm. And so I'm always surprised actually. There's a couple of our bigger competitors in the area who don't come to the conferences. And so I mean that's a part of it, right? Is there's a it's a noticeable gap of who comes to the conference and who doesn't come to the conference from our region. And people notice. I don't know. Like people just do notice and they're like, that's telling.
Yeah, super telling. So, this episode is brought to you by Aspen HR. Are you sick and tired of dealing with rising health insurance costs? Did you just acquire a business and discover the employee handbook hasn't been updated in 5 years? Do you think there is an opportunity to make your payroll process more efficient? Or are you tired of dealing with slow responses and payroll errors from your current vendor? If you want to professionalize your HR, benefits, and payroll function, reach out to Aspen HR. Run by a former searcher, Mark Sinatra, Aspen HR is the white glove PEO for search operators. Email sales@aspenhr.com today. And for our listeners, Mark will offer you a complimentary HR due diligence assessment. The leads don't ever flow. You just said something like, so it's not like it's a biz dev effort with the city arborist. The leads would never flow that
No.
direction, right?
I guess if they put out a municipal RFP, like
Yeah.
it could, but that's far and few in between, and those are quite like they have a whole RFP process regardless.
Yeah. On a separate podcast, maybe over the winter when things are slower for you, we'll do a follow up on remember that conversation we had about bigger commercial and government work where it would be bid
I
work
know.
and
I just listened to that episode actually. I haven't listened to our episodes in a while, but I went back and listened to that one and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's got to be a wintertime project for me this year."
yeah, I'm curious to see how that shakes out for you.
Yeah, we're doing one larger commercial one in a couple of weeks, but the work is within 25 feet of a active railroad, which triggers like all of these railroad safety compliance things where like every employee who's working on the trees has to get a background check. They have to get these like special like safety trainings and badges to say like how do you work near an active railroad. And so it's the type of complexity that like fine, like I'll deal with it. I'm going through all of these modules and figuring it out, but like most tree care guys are just gonna be like, what WTF, right? Like I
Yeah.
don't care about like I'm not doing all this.
Yeah, just put up a
But
temporary fence along the railroad line to buy yourself a little security.
they don't care. It's
Yeah,
just a proximity thing.
that was a joke. Yeah.
There is a fence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
Interesting.
uh, anyways, I see you plug in commercial fencing.
No, I would never do that. We don't operate in Seattle.
Yeah, come to Seattle, man. When are you gonna buy someone here?
Gosh, you could probably, is the ground frozen in Seattle for a significant period of time?
No.
No, it's just wet.
There is a frost layer, but you're mostly good, I think. I don't think I guess I shouldn't say it definitively. I assume you could install fence all year here.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of like one of our early reads on where we go. First
Mm,
tier, second tier cities, non seasonal.
not
So
seasonal, I see.
good
Interesting. No,
demographics.
I would guess that you could. I don't know, but yeah, maybe I'll do some digging for you. You can pay me a finder's fee.
When you say digging, you don't mean physically. You mean
I mean, lead genning.
exactly. All right. So you ready to pivot to our next topic du
Do it.
jour?
Yeah, take us.
So a couple things. I one topic that has come up a lot lately, and this is not an owner topic, but it becomes an owner topic, which is where I see a lot of people trying to put a lot of leverage on their business.
Mhm.
And I know you specifically, you don't need to share details, but you significantly under levered the business, or maybe more specifically, you put a lot of cash on the balance sheet at close. And I would just like to talk about the approach to capitalizing debt versus equity and liquidity. And even in a situation like we all joke, like rates came down. So everybody who has an SBA loan or a floating rate piece of debt, like got a little bit of relief. And yet, like that doesn't hide the fact that I think most people who are buying these small businesses are grossly over leveraging them. That or, and I'll let you pick, it's Friday afternoon. You said that you were taking over managing your digital marketing, or at least your PPC campaigns.
Hmm.
I would love to know, like, just walk us through what that all means, like your
Yeah.
strategy, the tools you use, how you think about it, etc. You pick the topic. We probably only have time for one.
Yeah. And then we can pick up the other one. Let's do digital marketing another day because that's a big undertaking. But I can talk about leverage for a bit. So, the way I've thought about leverage in SMB specifically, like I used as like not quite as much, but pretty close to as much leverage as I could. But I made a specific point to also put as much cash on the balance sheet as I could and get as much of a line of credit as I could. Because, and you do that through the working capital ask, right, to the bank, and you have to be able to justify it. But we were able to justify a pretty meaningful like slug of cash to the balance sheet, which has been crucial, especially because as rates went up on us, like and we went through a J curve, like we needed some of that cash to get through. But I want to parse this into two concepts for a second, where if as a searcher you have more cash saved in your personal accounts, right? Like I recommend to those searchers, like don't put all that cash into your deal, like take the leverage because that cash is a much more practically used as a debt payment, right? As opposed to equity upfront. So, like in simple terms, right? If you take, I don't know, like 3 million of SBA debt and you've got another 200K saved in the bank, such that you could have put it in as equity and just done 2.8 million of SBA debt, like that's actually riskier taking 2.8 million and having nothing in the bank. It is less risky to take 3 million of SBA debt and have 200K in the bank because your payment on the 3 million is going to be something like 600K. So that 200K in the bank is going to be like several months of debt payments, right? Whereas reducing your debt payment, your total balance by 200K up front, like that's going to change your payment by like
A grand?
10 grand maybe a year,
Yeah.
right? Like it's
Grand a
just not
month.
going to move the needle
Yeah.
very much. And you're going to have to eaten up all of your kind of backup, your emergency bank, right? So like that, and so that's sort of how I think about, like, if you are going to go to max leverage, do it because you have savings basically that can help you with your payment. That's how I thought about it. There's the flip side, which is like, hey, like if you don't have the savings, right, then I would be thinking hard about how do you de-risk the deal by lowering leverage and taking less equity, right? Like that is the trade. But you can't really, like, if you take it both ways, like you max out leverage and you don't have savings, now you're just like completely risk on and you have no margin for error.
Right. And so just so we're maybe even more clear about what this means, it's like if the purchase price for your business is 3.5 million, and let's say you want to put 90% leverage on it, let's just use 3 million. It's easier math. So $2.7 million. We'll assume no transaction costs. Just keep it
Yep.
simple. So in theory, you could go get 2.7 of SBA debt and only need to raise 300,000. And
Right.
so usually what people are thinking, searchers, is I want to own the most ownership, most equity as I can. So I'll go to
Right.
my personal bank account and I'll put in as much as I can of the $300,000 delta, the minimum equity injection. And
Correct.
I know that SBA lenders have like a post-close liquidity requirement for searchers. I don't remember exactly what it is.
Yeah, me either.
But the point is like if you strip your personal savings and you go max leverage and you don't put that last line item on the sources and uses for excess cash, like you have zero margin for error. And I think there is just not enough critical thought to the point that even though a P&L says like $1 million of EBITDA, it does not show up in the form of 1 million divided by 12. Cash flow swings like crazy.
Totally.
And so I guess my whole point is the more and more I think about how you did it, I think it's the right move, which is in that example, $3 million project cost. You go take the max leverage. That's liquid, and then go take the other liquidity sources you can up front, because when you need liquidity and you don't have it, it is the most expensive.
Totally. And that's what you needed yourself, right? Like you can't even, yes, even if your investors have a lot of liquidity personally, like if you need to go raise that money from them and when you're in trouble, like they should rightfully have it be way more expensive, right? The only way you can make that liquidity be relatively cheap is if it's your own.
Correct. So I know of 5 ways to give yourself liquidity.
Oh, okay.
One is increase your sources and uses for excess cash and fund it through investor equity. So you can also do it by giving, like the bank will fund in the term loan so that the bank will fund up to 90% of that excess cash.
Right.
But then you can go add onto it and add it dollar for dollar from investor equity. So go build excess cash. A second one is, and I think banks are only willing to do like 1 or 2 of these generally, but go get a undrawn line of credit. Line of credit means you need cash, you call the bank. I don't think it requires borrowing based calcs in SBA land. So it's just
nope.
Call and 2 days later you get cash.
And those first 2 that you've listed so far, they have to be done at close. You can't do them later. Like you're not going to get a line of credit once the deal is closed.
Third one is a lot of times they'll do like I only periods to start. So an I only period just means in the early days, usually like 3 months after closing, instead of making a principal payment, you're not making any payment. So you are theoretically saving cash. And so the business will provide you excess cash by not having to make, I think it's usually I only. Maybe it's no payment whatsoever, which would be really meaningful.
I've generally seen, interest only payment. Like that's what I had too. I had 3 months upfront of interest only. So for those 3 months, I made my interest payments, but I did not make principal payments. And so the principal payment portion just sort of like built up on the balance sheet as cash.
Yep. And then 4 and 5 are the ones you described. One is just keep a bunch of cash to the extent you can in your account. And the fundamental trade is that you're going to end up owning less than you could if you would have put it into the deal. And that's the hard one to get past. Like to convince somebody ahead of buying a business that they're better off owning 80% than 90%, it's just a tough sell still.
Totally. Yep.
And then the last one is like, it is worth taking on more investors in order to put more cash on the balance sheet at close. It's the cheapest that equity will ever be.
Or maybe to say it, it's the cheapest that equity will ever be to the extent you ever have issues, right? Like, in theory, the equity will get cheaper if you do well and you grow bigger, but like you have no idea what's going to happen, right? And so if you're in trouble, the equity will either be non-existent, not available to you, or just incredibly expensive.
Right. Yep. Good point.
So yeah, if I think about my deal, I funded it using working capital from the bank. Like that was sort of option 1. I raised investor capital and gave up equity, right? That was option 2. I did do an interest only period, right? So that was option 3. And then I've set aside, cash, and that was option 4. And like a lot of my personal investments, I have sitting, like a big chunk I have sitting in CDs, not in stocks, right? Because I need them to be liquid, relatively liquid, and like just take no principal risk on them.
Yeah. I feel very similarly, which is like owning a huge piece of equity in a private company is not exactly owning a basket of stocks on a public market. But the way I think about it is like if the The thing I can control somewhat is, does my business perform decently well? But what I can't control is, how is the economic environment? And if the
Totally.
economy falls apart, well, like my basket of stocks are going to fall apart. And so too is my private business equity value. So I have skinnied down my stock market risk big time as I've
Same.
gotten more and more into the private game.
Totally. I mean, it's just not the risk portion of our personal portfolio is in our businesses. It's not so like the rest of the portfolio should be. It's kind of the barbell approach, right? Like you have some really low risk stuff and you have some really high risk stuff. For me, the my small business, both my business and the businesses I invest in, those are the high risk activities. And then yeah, a bunch of my cash is sitting in certificates of deposit, like it's 1945 or something. I don't know what they used to do back then, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's paying, I don't know, what, 4 and change percent right now, depending
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
duration.
Yeah, exactly. And like the durations are such right now that you're getting paid the same for 3 to 6 month liquidity versus like 3 to 5 year liquidity. So I'm just putting it on like 3 to 6 month CDs and rolling them.
Yeah, interesting. So, all right, this is the portion of the podcast where if you're not interested, if you're only interested in small business, like you can hang up. I'm going to ask you a question. This one's personal in nature, which is, if we assume that the debt is unsustainable and we assume like the government may choose to monetize the debt by printing money over time,
Yep. You
how
mean
are
the
you,
debt, the federal debt?
the federal debt? Yes, sorry,
Yep.
we're no
Yep.
longer in SBA
Yes.
debt land.
Yep.
So,
Okay, good.
and the dollar were to depreciate, like to continue to depreciate rapidly.
Yep.
Like, do you
Yep.
think about that as a risk? Because all of our risk is in dollar denominated assets.
No. I mean, sorry. Yes. Right? Like macro, yes, micro, no. Because if you own assets, right? You are in theory more inflation adjusted than if you own like just cash, right? And in particular, if you own a leveraged asset, right? If you are you're basically inflating away the debt, right? So
Right.
like if you as a business can pass through inflation on the price side such that yes, on a real basis, right? Inflation adjusted basis, maybe 500K of EBITDA, maybe the buying power of 500K EBITDA turns into like, hey, you need to have 750K of EBITDA,
Yeah.
right? And so like, okay, that happens. Your costs go up, your revenue goes up. You are able to get it to 750K of EBITDA, but you're basically on a real basis as wealthy or couldn't buy as much as when you had 500K. Fine. But your debt hasn't changed. Your payments on your debt haven't changed. So if you used to be able to make your payments on 500K of EBITDA, you can definitely make them on 750K of EBITDA,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And so
Exactly.
you base because of that, like inflation is actually net, I think, is net beneficial to a levered asset owner.
Got it. Because that your whole point is like, you can raise price, your debt stays
Assuming
fixed,
you can. Yeah,
assuming you
assuming you
can
can.
raise price, assuming you can grow your earnings in
Correct.
a deflated currency. So
Correct.
you don't think about your dollar denominated risk. You think about your ownership of Bluma kind of taking a little bit of that risk off for you.
I mean, if your business has exposure to currency, that's
Yeah.
different, right? So if you're
Yeah.
a business that imports or exports either key materials or anything, like, yeah, that's different, obviously.
Yep.
But I mean, look, like if your business exports, like dollar devaluation is good, right? It's
Totally.
really only if you have a significant portion of your cost structure as an import and you can't pass through pricing, that's where you get squeezed, which is what the tariffs are, right? So
Exactly.
like anyone who's currently has a big piece of their cost structure getting tariffed, like they're actually hurting.
Yep. And there is
Um,
some of that in our business, obviously.
I guess that's yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. So then I'm just inferring that you don't invest in gold. Are you like a Bitcoin or alternative currency believer or no?
No. I mean, I just I was raised up in too much like old school value investing to
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure I like do I have some money in Bitcoin or whatever more out of curiosity than anything so that I keep
Yeah.
checking the prices on it, but it's not a real piece of my portfolio.
Yeah. I
Do you?
also worry that, so currently, no. Currently, I align with everything you've said.
Yeah.
I also have hesitated because I think at the end of the day, I'm going to dollar cost average into some alternative currency stuff, gold, precious metals,
Yep.
Bitcoin, whatever, all these things I don't really understand. But
Yep.
the problem is, I think that we have not really had a hard time other than like a flash crash of COVID. And then that big flash crash, I think it was last year, like 25% drop in the equity markets. Like, I think that in the short run, assets are going to be correlated, meaning like if we go have a massive downturn in the markets, everything is going to be correlated because people are going to rush for liquidity like they always do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, even though Bitcoin could be like a good medium of exchange in the long run and a storehold of value, great. In the short run, like, people are going to, who have, a lot of people have gotten into Bitcoin, they're going to be looking for liquidity when everything goes to hell in hell in a handbasket.
Right.
And if that happens, I think we'll have like a big correlation issue in the short run. And then in the long run,
I mean, the
different
the
story.
argument, the pro Bitcoin folks would say the argument is that like holding Bitcoin is liquidity, right? Like because the Bitcoin itself is easily fungible and tradable.
Is tradable, but can you buy anything with it?
I mean, who knows? Maybe in the future, but you can buy USD.
Right. And that's how you
But no,
buy a soda out of the soda machine. You don't buy it with
right, no,
Bitcoin. So you have to go,
I agree.
you have to go liquidate. And then
Yeah,
you have people doing that, and that's going to cause, anyway.
I run. Yeah, no, I mean the part that I go back to, or maybe what I struggle with is like, why own gold, precious metal, alternative currency, whatever, or currently not even alternative currency. It's just like, why not own a basket of like real currencies,
Yeah.
right? Why own that? Like, why not just like buy real estate? Like that to me feels like the more obvious inflation hedge.
Like,
And to be clear, I 100% agree that the asset values will go down, but as long as you're not a forced seller, it doesn't really matter.
correct. Agree. But why dirt? Were you saying like income producing real estate or
Mm-hmm.
just land?
Income producing, whether it's land or otherwise.
It's just the safer version of a small business. It produces cash flow. You can buy it with highly levered. Maybe we're trying to
Yeah,
discourage that, but
right.
I agree. I agree.
So that's where I kind of struggle with the like trying to find whether it's protection from overpriced assets or it's protection from inflation. Like you to find that protection in alternative currencies or precious metals or whatever, right? Like it's not actually obvious to me that that makes that like yes, if you think real estate is heavily overpriced at whatever, like in Seattle, it's probably a 4% cap rate market for, residential real estate. Like it's not great,
Whoa.
but maybe 4% is maybe tight, but maybe it's like 6%. But in my head, I'm like, why not? If I'm gonna buy CDs at 3.5 to 4% yield, like at least the Seattle real estate market has appreciation potential. It has depreciation potential, obviously, and that's the thing that people care about. But I feel pretty comfortable that that risk profile on the cash flow side is sticky for a while,
Mm.
given what I know. But I don't know. I mean, look, like ultimately, you're still taking a risk there. That's different. So I shouldn't just say that casually. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see the like asset price protection being so obvious in the precious. Like I think I basically agree that there will be a lot of correlation there, no matter what.
Yeah. In the short run.
Yeah. Do you try to allocate to treasuries?
I don't anymore because I don't see enough incremental yield on them versus where my cash is parked.
Right.
And with my cash, it is daily liquidity, like treasuries are, I guess, in theory.
Yeah.
I would only buy treasuries like held to maturity. I would buy short duration and hold them to
Right.
maturity and roll them over, which is
Yep.
essentially, almost instant
The same
liquidity.
thing. Yep.
So like we've talked about this before. Like my whole philosophy is like a massive barbell approach to investing and liquidity and like risk. I'd
Yeah.
rather have like big private, highly levered assets and tons of cash.
Yeah. I mean, look, like this is obviously a privileged position to be in, but I feel pretty comfortable that one way or the other, I'll like be able to make a buck to live my life,
Yeah.
right? Like
Good point.
I'll figure out a way to do it. I have some marketable skills. And so to me, part of my portfolio allocation decisions for my personal portfolio are like they're just interest driven. Like
Yeah.
I'm not that interested in Bitcoin. Like I'm not interested in figuring out why it works or doesn't. Like I am interested in small businesses. I'm not interested in like home ownership, so I don't own a home, right? Like I
Yeah.
don't know. That's more of how I've thought about this, with a little bit of a mental bounds around, not taking over risk if I don't have to.
It's a good point. I think about another thing, a framework that's worked is, to your point, never having to be a forced seller, or a different way of thinking about it is maybe multiple ways to win on holding something. Like
Yeah.
I have 3 kids. I would love to, when they're a little older, get them a rental house that they have to manage and rent it out.
Oh,
And that's a way to learn
interesting.
personal finances, and we can lever it. And so they can learn and have a enterprise and
That's
responsibility.
cool.
When they
I
go
like
to
that idea.
college, like I intend to do like go buy a little crappy 2 or 3 bedroom house or condo,
Yeah.
and their 529 money can pay them rent, and they're going to go get some roommates, and they're going to learn some lessons, all while doing like making good economic decisions.
I like that. That's cool. You can use I guess that makes sense. Why not?
Yeah, I think you can. That's what I read on, I don't know, Google or something.
Yeah. If there's any CPAs that listen to this, let us know. That's
Oh man, like I don't know about you, but I get some stuff on Twitter on my screen that's like way more aggressive than that. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah.
it's like put your
Yeah.
2-year-old on payroll.
At
We're
this
gonna
point, I could
pass.
put my cats on payroll. I feel like my cats are offering a lot of like emotional therapy to my team. Or if not putting them on payroll itself, like I should at least run the cat expenses through the P&L.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you're still wiping somebody's rear end, they cannot be on your payroll. So yeah. Anyway.
So, anyways, none of that was investing advice. None of that was legal advice.
Yes. Jeez. Yeah. Johnny,
So,
disclaimer.
yeah, make sure that disclaimer gets in there, Johnny.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a good point. All right. Well, that was fun. A
I
little
do
digression.
think if somebody listens to this podcast and chooses to take that as investing advice, like they deserve to lose money.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's on
Absolutely.
them. But
Gosh. What else?
well,
We missing anything?
I don't think so. I'm ready for the weekend. This is a big life maintenance weekend for me. I need to get a haircut, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm off the rails. And we have Monday off. I forgot we have Monday off. Like the
Do you,
unexpected long weekend is unbelievable.
is Monday a federal holiday?
I think so. It's Indigenous Peoples Day, or at least in Washington, it's Indigenous People Day. You guys probably still call it Columbus Day.
I believe I asked that simply because it feels like I work every single day of my life. So
Right?
when I think about holidays, I think about whether my kids are going to have natural daycare, otherwise known as school, or
Mm-hmm.
do we need to figure out an
I
alternative
think
arrangement?
they might not have school on Monday.
They don't, but it's fall break. And
Oh, that's
and
why.
my wife, who also works, is in an industry where for some reason, like holidays don't apply to them.
Yeah. I mean, I chose to add it's not like I'm saying like, yeah, we happen to have Monday off. It's like I picked to have Monday off a while ago.
Yeah,
Right. It's
exactly.
not like we're like mandated to take Monday off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's good timing. I am actually, this could be a topic for a future conversation, is how we think about benefits and holidays. Cause
Mm,
I've been struggling with that a little bit in terms of how do you improve benefits and holidays versus just paying people more? That's a challenge. And we have 10 paid holidays, which is
wow.
way more than most companies in our region. And I've been thinking about, should we pare that back and basically provide more kind of use your own PTO,
Yep.
or pare that back and just offer better pay? Because that's real pay.
My quick read on it would be, if you asked 10 employees, you'd get 3 different answers. So
Totally.
that's the problem. And
Exactly.
10 paid holidays is the same as if you run payroll every week or every 2 weeks.
Every week.
Okay. So it's 2 payroll runs. That's a lot.
Yeah. It's real. It's real money.
Yeah. Huh.
And when I bought the business, we had like maybe 4.
Interesting.
Right. So I've basically pulled a whole week of production out of our business.
Yeah. And paid for it.
And paid for it. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So instead of ending with a fun fact or like a quick question, I
Mhm.
I thought as it's playoff baseball season, it's football season, it's hockey
It's true.
season.
It's
It's a
true.
great time of year for sports fans. One,
The Buccaneers, that was a crazy, that was a brutal win against the Seahawks. That was painful.
I didn't text you.
Yeah,
Thought
that's
about it.
nice of you not to text me.
At the
Yeah,
buzzer.
yeah, that was brutal. Anyway, sorry, finish your thought.
Nope. Like the quick fact as we end on a positive note, one of the unexpected things I just didn't ever think about in being a small business owner is that the vendor community, we're not talking about like COGS vendors. We're talking about
Mhm.
like mostly professional services vendors. So
Yeah,
you
bankers and
have
lawyers.
banker, lawyer, insurance agent, accountant, maybe a couple of different kinds of accountants, wealth manager, all of those professional service providers have and are going to solicit you for a long time, and then you'll have a relationship. What's really cool is they tend to use sports as a way to do biz dev and client retention. I don't know. I'm not going to ask you how you got your Seattle's Mariners tickets, but it's really cool because I can make a couple calls and generally get some cool tickets. And I usually bring my son, and I kind of make that like a deal breaker because it's important to me. And so,
Yeah,
like,
that's sick.
generally once or twice a year, couple Lightning game, couple Bucks games, couple Rays games, and there's no
Nice.
direct cost to it. And I didn't expect that 10 years ago.
Yeah, this today's game I just bought and paid for, but I was invited to one of the previous games, but I was at the conference by a banker locally, and it was like, oh yeah, that would have been sick. I would have loved to have gone
Playoff
to
game.
that
That's cool.
playoff game. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So,
But for the most part, I'm not there yet. You're a bigger Kahuna in Tampa Bay.
no, I'm just older than you, I guess. Another benefit is there's this point where your peers, your age group peers become
Right,
decision makers. So like
right,
a lot of the professional services folks that are my friends, they're my age, they're almost 40. They're the
right.
ones that are pretty much making like the sports tickets decisions. They
Totally.
choose the suite the bank is buying for that year. And it's
That makes sense.
fantastic.
That's the real unlock. You're right. That makes so much sense. All right, I need my friends to get better at their life,
Or
get
just
older.
older.
Yeah, older, exactly.
Yeah.
Start inviting me to stuff like that. I like it.
Anyway, so there
I
are
am on the
perks.
last like 5,000 people on the wait list for Seattle Seahawks season tickets, which is exciting. I'm
Wow.
getting closer. Yeah,
That is not going to be cheap.
it is not going to be cheap. I
The
mean, I
NFL.
joined the wait list the year after I graduated college. It's been over 10 years or almost 10 years now.
Wow.
Um, and to be clear, my spot is actually I'm still this is like a friend spot because she was like, "Hey, I have 4 spots. You can take 2. I'll take 2." And so and she done it even earlier. Like the spot I had put myself on, I'm like 14,000th or so. I just got my update on the list to get on the wait list.
What?
They have like a notification. They have a list before the list.
There's that much demand for the Seahawks?
Yeah, and I when I joined that list like 10 years ago or so, I was like 60,000th. So I've gotten through like 45,000 people so far in like 10 years, but that's like before even getting on the actual wait list.
Huh. Doesn't that
So
mean
like
they should
once you get
raise their
off,
price?
potentially, yeah. But like when you get off the list I'm on, when you get onto the quote unquote real list, you put a deposit down at that point.
Oh, well, as it should be.
So I've put a deposit down because I'm on my friend's thing now. But I think even for that one, we're still like I think we're like placed like 5,000 on the real
Yeah.
list.
Well, the good news is you're in a nice climate of Seattle. In Tampa, for at least the first 4 months of the season, August, preseason, September, October, November. November can be nice. Half of the in this year, by the way, every single one of our home games is a 1 o'clock, I think a 1 o'clock or a 4 o'clock Sunday game. For every one of those games, for the entire game, physically one half of our stadium gets absolutely destroyed by the direct
Ugh,
sunlight. Like
that's
you
terrible.
couldn't pay me to go to a 1 o'clock game in September at the
That's
Buccaneers.
brutal.
Anyway,
Interesting. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, we have the rain problem, But interestingly, if you're in the upper decks, you're more covered than if you're in the lower deck. And so whatever season tickets I get, I'm going to be in the upper deck regardless. So
Cool.
I'll be good.
Yeah.
Because the lower deck is more exposed because the field is not covered.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Anyways, Johnny, you can decide if you want to keep all this in or not. We're just, I don't know. We'll see what the people say.
Can somebody DM us on Twitter and tell us if we're heading the right direction? We're having fun.
This is true.
This serves as quasi therapy. We're
correct.
But if you have specific,
I wish there was a way to see. I wish there was a way to see like our listening chart and see like when do people drop off.
Yeah,
right? There must be. I'm sure somebody's figured this out. But like, did they all drop off the minute we started like thinking about macro investing, which we don't really know much about, right? Or did we lose them once we started talking about season tickets? I don't know.
This is what I do know. Okay. We're not going to know for sure, but Johnny, in the title of this podcast, call it something like relevant and small business related, and then at the end put like in brackets plus Bitcoin discussion.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to get some SEO. Let's bring in the Bitcoin guys. The problem is if we bring in the Bitcoin guys, we're gonna get roasted because we didn't really like pump Bitcoin.
Oh, brother, there's no such thing as bad press. Bring them on.
If you say so. All right. Yeah, Bitcoin guys, come on. If there's an SMB owner who's funneling all your cash flow out of your business into Bitcoin, I'd love to talk to you and I hear about it.
Yes, I would too. And last I was serious, Johnny, put the word Bitcoin in the title and see what that does because it was interesting. With that, we'll call it a day.
Perfect. Thanks for listening, everyone.